Hey everybody, looks like we are live. It's so great to see everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out. We made it to yet another Wednesday. So today we're going to continue on this oil portrait. Now remember, I started off using the Wicked Candy 2.0. Those are really great, and I did that. And I should have used the bleed checker, but I didn't. The Candy 2.0, that's what I used, and it came out really great. It was very transparent, and so you can see how the glow of those candies underneath are really helping us now. So let's see who we have today. We have Dan all the way from Indianapolis. How are you, sir? We have Giovanni. How's it going? Great to see you, Giovanni, all the way from Texas. We have Patty from Illinois. Great to see you. Brad from Manitoba, Canada. How are you, sir? Great to see you. We have JC all the way from the Atlanta area. How's it going, JC? And we have Astral from the UK. Great to see you, sir. And we have Kyle. How are you doing? All the way from the Hershey, Pennsylvania area. Great to see you. Thanks so much for coming by, my friend. And what a great group already. So just so fantastic to see you. It's good to see you, Astral. Oh, it's going great. That's so cool, JC. How's the fam? So it's so cool to see you. So yeah, today we're just going to continue. So we finished the dress, or at least the first layer of the dress. So now the whole painting is pretty much painted. And at this point, it's pretty much, once everything is painted, it goes by much quicker, because then you can make your relationships much stronger, which is really fantastic. So I got my water, and I got my oil paints, and I'm using that wet palette and putting the paints in the freezer. And these paints are actually, let me show you week-old oil paints using this technique. It's really amazing. Let me see. Okay, so this is paint I have from last week. Look at this. This is like really thin. You see how amazing that is? That's still wet. Not to mention, the paint that's like right here. That's still like real juicy and wet. So if you oil paint, get yourself the wet palette. And, if you're interested, I'll show you my technique. It's really great. So, definitely the way to go. And you'd probably save about $300 a year if you paint like me all the time, maybe even more. Also, if you're working in acrylic, the wet palette really works as well. There's several techniques. There's other wet palettes now. I use the Masterson, and make sure that you have some wet paper towels. If you're working in acrylic, keep it in the refrigerator. One of the things about the wet palette that causes problems is that it starts to stink and get really like rank. But if you keep your wet palette in the refrigerator, just like anything else, it will last. So definitely do that, right? So that's very important. So what are we going to do today? Basically, I want to let's work on our hair, because there's some like nice lighter areas of the hair. We can start introducing some of the light coming in from the window on camera right, which would be really great. What does it smell like, Tim? Oh, when the wet palette, when you're working in acrylic, it smells difference between like cat urine and BO. That's basically what it smells like, JC. But if you take the wet palette and you put it in the fridge, you're going to actually get a lot more life out of it and no stench. So use purified water, and make sure that you put it in the fridge. That's great. Oil paints, put it in the freezer, and that will last a long time. Smells like Steam Spirit. Yeah, definitely. Definitely smells like something scary, that's for sure. Okay, so the first thing is, let's go ahead and work on the hair. It's always good to work on the hair. So I want to find out you know, what color, how much lighter do we need it? Giovanni, thank you so much. The wet palette with acrylics. And so if you put it in the fridge, I did an experiment about 2 weeks ago. Huge success. And the paint actually lasted, and we're talking like, it was Liquitex paint. And it lasted 2 weeks, and it was still, it was like a Timex. It took a licking and kept on ticking. So that's definitely, you know, a huge plus. So, you know, Giovanni, try that. It really makes a big difference. And also take a wet paper towel and put that in there as well, and that's going to give you more time. You want to create that whole atmosphere of humidity, and the more humid it is, the less chance of things actually drying. So that's really cool. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find out how am I going to mix the color of the hair. I got some really cool things I can share with you on color theory this today, which I think you will really love. So stay tuned for that, because, you know, a lot of times paint companies aren't doing you any favor by offering you 17,000 colors. So we're going to talk about that, and, you know, how, you know, your knowledge of color, you won't have to buy all them. You know, maybe 15, 16 colors and you're set. You don't need anything else. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and find this color. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is plug in the numbers and see how we're going to mix this color. Okay, so now I have the parameters set, and let's see if we can make this happen. Alright, so we're going to come over here and looking at this, and I'm seeing, let's see, okay, so I think this color right here, and going back to this color. Okay, so we're looking at 30 degrees. Let's see. Alright, so we are going to mix this right now and see if we could get that color within a few moments here. And we're getting pretty close. And what I like to do is mix a light version and a dark version, so if I need it, I can just grab it. Let's see here. And I like mixing with the palette knife. Hey Ryan, how's it going? Great to see you. Willie, how are you? I'm good. Thank you so much for taking the course, Willie. I'm going to be sending that to you on Friday. That's my day off with some extra goodies. So thank you so much for taking that course, my friend. And oh, cool. Astral's getting new badgers. That's wonderful, sir. And let me make sure we get this color right. And then everything in between. So this way we have a full range of the hair colors. And I pretty much nailed it. And now we're going to come in with our brush here. And remember, this paint is 3 weeks old. A lot of it's 3 weeks old. And let's see. Oh, you're welcome. Definitely got to send you some goodies. That's for sure. Oh, yeah. So, definitely. So, I'm so glad you're getting back into painting, my friend. That makes me really happy to hear. So as you can see, guys, I pretty much am happy with the color I got. It's a lighter, it's definitely a lighter hair color. And you want to follow the grain of whatever you're painting. Astral says he placed all his airbrush out yesterday and sent a photo to his painfully bored family. The next two will add up to 19. Wow. Well, yeah. So definitely, that's cool. So definitely we're going to, when we're working on this hair, we're going to kind of hit the lightest part here, and then it blends down to the darker areas of the hair. Oh yes, let me know. I'm gonna actually make a new ink run pretty soon, so let me know when you need, my friend. And thank you for using them. And right here, this is the lightest part of her hair. And now what I have to do is go ahead and mix the darker part of her hair. And I already mixed it, but I'm going to make sure that I mix it again, because you want to get good at mixing. You know, you don't want to, kind of get lackadaisical about it. Let's see if we can. And we don't want to just do a darker version of the hair, right? We want to make sure that we're paying attention to the subtlety and the color shifts and everything like that. So even though the other part of her hair is darker, it's not just a darker version of it. Actually, it's a little more red than the other part of her hair. So these little subtleties are really going to make a big difference. Roy, how are you, sir? Great to see you. It's great to see Roy from New Jersey and Ryan all the way from Michigan. Great to see you guys. And let's see here. And let's mix this color. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and mix that color. So let's go ahead and do that. Actually, I have it right here, which is good. So I have this new color that I'm using right now, which is cadmium red light. It's almost like it's actually a red orange. It kind of sits at the 610 nanometers, which is perfectly in the red orange mixture area. Okay. Making sure I get this color correct. And I always like to do a lighter version of it. It's just good to do. It's good practice. Great. Okay, so now I have the color that I want. Hey Colette, how are you? All the way from the Atlanta area. Great to see you. And resist the urge of using the same brush. So you see here I have the lighter, and I'm going to come in with a darker brush. And we want to make sure, I like using the brights, which are the short kind of square brushes. They're really a lot of fun to work with. Let's see. Alright, so now we have these darker hairs here. Now if it, let's say you see it and it looks a little too colorful, then you just have to kind of kill that chroma a little bit. So great to see you, Colette. So to be successful with this, I have to make sure that I have all three colors, the light, the medium, and the dark. So right now I'm hitting the medium, and that's very important. Oh, Giovanni, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate that. And always a pleasure. Always great talking to you, and love the videos that you're doing. They're just amazing. And you're really important for the airbrush community and the art community as a whole. So thank you so much for hanging out, my friend. And thank you for being such a good friend. I appreciate you. So you want to keep your brushes clean. So like anything else, you want to make sure that, you're not just, making mud. So keep your brushes clean. It's very important. Of course, in the airbrush world, we have like stencils we can use to get hair effects, which is really nice. Ah, Giovanni says, thank you for your kind words. You are the best, and I love learning from you. Thank you, my friend. I talk about you all the time when I hear about, I talk to people who are into, painting miniatures and everything like that. So I send a lot of people your way, sir, because I think you're the best at what you do. So now I'm going to come in, and you see how I'm kind of getting that relationship between the light and dark here. Mr. Michael, how are you, my friend? Great to see you. How's everything? How's retirement, my friend? I'm loving the work that you're doing very much, although I don't have the ability right now to see your live streams, but once I do, I'm definitely going to watch them. Keep your brushes clean because you don't like using dirty ones. Yeah, and if we don't take care of our brushes, that means we have to spend more money, and that's no fun. But really love what you're doing, sir. Let's do some errant hairs coming down here. And hair is very tricky. And also, if you see that maybe it's a little desaturated, that means you have to add some saturation to it. That means more beautiful color. Oh, that's fantastic. Like, great to hear. Mr. Michael has been busy painting, so that's always wonderful to hear. So now I have my brush, I have my light, I have my medium tone, and now we're going to mix the light tone. And once again, the dark tone, once again, we're not just going to make a darker version of that tone. We don't get away with that, let's just say. You definitely want to mix that color and have a system like mine where you can mix it pretty quickly. Okay. So again, it looks like we're at that red-orange color. And that's cadmium red. The red-orange is cadmium red light. And this is definitely a deeper color than even the color we just had. And So the book is getting more and more exciting. It started off as just a manifesto, but now it's a comprehensive how to mix color, and it's just getting better and better. I mean, it's just unbelievable what's happening with this. So, all right, so let's make this happen. I'm going to go ahead with my red-orange base here. Gary, how's it going, my friend? Great to see you. How are you, sir? Always a pleasure. How was your little staycation? Right, close by. You had, you went to the beach and everything. Was it really great? It looked like you were relaxing. And now I have my darker color. And we're ready to go in. So let's get the third brush. Again, you want to have like a nice bright, something that is square and short, which is really fantastic. Astral Vex, $20 in the USA. They are cheaper in the UK. Oh, okay. Let's see. All right, so I have the color, and let's go ahead and make this happen here. So when I have the three colors together, then I could really work wet into wet, right? It's really important to work wet and wet because it's almost like sculpting the forms. And we have some beautiful rich color here. And you always want to tiptoe between, having it a gray down color and a rich saturated color. And you'll know when to use it. Oh, Gary said went to the beach twice, stayed 2 days, left for 2 days, and went back for 2 days. So we had 4 days at the beach. Nice. Was it relaxing and regenerating, sir? I hope so. You deserve that. Okay, and we'll just come down here. Try to get some of the variables in the hair, keeping it organic, right? Making sure that we won't make our hair look kind of, you know, too perfect, because hair is not that way. eBay, $48. Wow, that's great. Congratulations on that. So you see how by doing this we can tell that, the light is actually affecting her hair. Right? So, and keeping your brush clean, or your brushes clean, so you don't make mud. And we even have highlights to put later. And what I'm using is this stuff right here. I don't use linseed oil. I use this solvent-free gel by Gamblin. It's really amazing. And it's just, it feels like paint on your palette, right? I'll show you. So if I come over here, you can see we have this right here is my solvent-free gel, and it works like linseed oil. You get transparency, spreads it out. It's really great, but you don't have some messy liquids. You're not dealing with messy liquids, which is, a plus. Okay, do painting. Get my reference up here. I use PureRef, pureref.org, I think, and definitely check it out. And keep things clean. Don't have it dirty. So that's why you always want to clean your brush. One, two brush strokes, and that's it. And wipe, and then repeat. It's almost like shampoo, rinse, repeat, right? Then just coming back and forth with the light and the medium and then the dark. And keeping it organic. It's so important to do that. But now I can work wet into wet, get some nice blends. We may be a little high in saturation here, but we can always dull it down later. Oh, listen to that. So Giovanni is selling 2 of his Vex. That's pretty cool. Keep working things back and forth. And notice that, I'm keeping my colors very clean. That's very important. Okay, now I have that mid-tone. Let's work in that mid-tone. And once again, you want to keep it very clean. Maybe a little bit darker. Okay. Working that dark. And you see, by working, the wet into wet, you can start to really get some beautiful gradations. Yeah, definitely. I always recommend customizing them, right? That's so cool. Oh, yeah, definitely. I might turn them into extreme patriot arrows. Right? See, right here, we probably can just kind of soften this up as it comes here. And you see how, there were 3 right in the middle, like bang, bang, bang? That looks fake. So anything that looks mechanical, you got to get rid of, okay? Remember that. when in hair or anything, especially in hair, eyelashes, everything, stay away from the mechanical. It's really important. At the moment, no. Thanks for asking, Willie, but at the moment I'm not. Maybe in the future, but right now I'm pretty much, holding off. Can't get the parts. So if I can't get the parts, then, I take your money and have you wait, and that would be bad. So until I get the parts, I won't be selling them, Willie. Yeah, and you have some really great airbrushes there, Mr. JC. So you're okay for now, right, sir? So when I'm doing hair, I'm always looking for kind of ridiculous looking mechanical kind of looks. Oh, JC says the only badger he has is my custom, so he doesn't need any more. He think he got the best of the badgers. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that, sir. So here I have my medium tone, and we're just going to kind of bring this down. So you see how working wet into wet, I can do some really nice gradations. So, my experience as an airbrush artist really helped me of, how to get gradations in oil paint. So oil paint helps my airbrushing and airbrush helps my oil painting. Definitely. It's just like, it's the same thing, right? Uh, the same principles apply with airbrush. So you airbrush artists, it's the same thing. It's always good to see someone how they handle hair, and it's very similar to working in any medium. Max Ginsburg told me when I was a kid, I remember cleaning my brushes next to him when I was 16 years old, even 15, and I asked him, I says, if I master oil paints, would it be easier for me to master other mediums? And he said, yes, definitely. And thank you. Michael says that my airbrushes are still kicking butt, and Giovanni says that he needs more airbrushes. So see how I'm actually getting that kind of soft turning, but still making sure that even though I'm getting the turning of the forms, that I'm making it look very organic. And then we have a few little darks here. Just making sure, as always, I'm keeping things really organic, meaning irregular. I'm going to take a water break here. Okay. When you have your paper towel and it starts getting a little messy, throw it out, because invariably, if you keep going, it's going to get on your hands, going to get on everything. So, all right. So now, I'm kind of happy with the hair, but I do have these little fan brushes, and they're really good because then you can kind of soften up some of these edges here. And I'm going to revisit this area, so I'm not going to just continue with that. But you can see how I can really start to get a sense of the light being stronger right over here. Keep this wet. Remember, you're working wet into wet, and also keep your brush strokes, keep your brushes nice and clean. So you don't want to make mud, right? That thing pokes out like 3 inches from the nozzle. It sure is. That is astral. That is a lethal weapon. That elongated needle really makes the difference, you know. It's all aerodynamics, you know. And that's the fun thing about it. Now I'm going to come in with that really nice dark, rich dark that I had over here. And let's see if we can just shape some. We can go even darker over here. So some ivory black is making its appearance here. And down here, see, the thing is, atmosphere really is the wild card when painting, whether it's an airbrush or oil or drawing. The wild card is definitely the atmosphere. It changes everything. It keeps things from getting pure black, and it keeps things from getting pure white. So you have things such as ambient light, you know, reflected light from maybe the other room or from outside. There's so many variables, and you know, but the main thing is to break down color into its simplest components. And now you see I'm bringing that dark down. Right here, it's pretty much constant. You know, maybe it's a little bit darker in the front of her hair, but we're going to actually later, once this is dry, we're going to glaze in some color in her hair, especially in the back there. And where, where it comes out, some hair comes out further, it'll get darker, right? Because there's a darker chasm. Light can't get there. And I'm just going to put a few hair texture right in here. Not many, just a few. And then we can thin it out because we have the light color right here. We can kind of thin it out, kind of make a lost edge here. The great thing about hair, it's like a work in progress throughout the whole painting. So you don't have to make it look perfect. You just got to continue revisiting it throughout the whole painting. And that's all you need to do. I'm going to come back in with my fan brush here. Keep your brushes clean. Okay. And that's pretty good. So now what I can do is I'm going to bring this dark here, and this is going to be much softer up here. So let's go back and revisit our darkest dark. and bring this over here. Not much in ways of atmosphere affecting this. It's pretty much an area that is not getting much light. Sort of paint this in here. Oh, so Astral says JC says he does a deep clean with his finger, then follow with alcohol, and back to brand new. Now what's interesting, there's a haze here, a red haze here. So I'm going to hold off from painting right here, but I'm going to do this black right about here, and then I'm going to come in with that mid-tone, and we'll work on this area here. But first, we're going to hit this dark here as well, that really rich dark, using some of that ivory black, some of that red orange. And then some of this dark color is spilling onto her forehead. One thing I do love about oil painting, it's like sculpting, you know, you really feel it. It feels totally like sculpting because you're working wet into wet. Then I'm going to come in here into her face again and kind of enrich some of these areas here. So I did a red glaze here, a transparent, and it's okay, but it can be better. So it just means I have to do another layer. And mud into mud, yes, you don't want to do that, that's for sure. You keep your brushes clean and you'll be okay. But you have to pay attention to what light is doing. So JC said, it's interesting. JC asked, how long did it take for me to get good at oil painting? That was like my first painting medium as a kid. And I learned it when I was 15 years old. I started painting. And I would say probably the first year I created nothing but a mess. And it wasn't until like the second to third year I really started hitting my stride, like 17, 18 years old. And then I kept taking classes for 8 years. So I say probably 2 years and I really started holding my own in competitions and everything. So, but I'll say this, if I was like yourself, already airbrushing at a high level, you're not going to have a hard time. It's actually going to be a lot more easier for you than it was for me. So that has take that to heart, that you won't have a hard time, as hard as coming in fresh without knowing how to paint like you do. So you'd be surprised. And if anyone ever took, oil painting with me, because I approach it through, using the airbrush in a lot of areas, I think you guys would really start doing like high-level oil paintings pretty darn quickly. So it won't be a year. I say 2 months and you guys are kicking butt, but I was cold turkey, so that's the difference. Wow, airbrush on used car mirrors. That's interesting, to sell your work. Wow, that's very interesting. So on used cars that are still on the road? That sounds really interesting. So one thing about oil painting or pastel or airbrush, expect to paint your painting 3 times, you know? So go to a junkyard. Wow, that's fantastic. That's a great idea. So I definitely want to see some examples of that because that sounds really cool. So I'm going to bring this dark down here. Again, that's that red, orange, and black is giving me this color. And let's get some more paint. Use a little bit of solvent-free gel here. Kind of bring this up. Okay, so now let's see if we can, where could we work a little bit here? I think we can definitely soften up. See this right here, the bridge of the nose, how it goes with the side plane here? We can definitely soften that up. Oh, JC said he did graffiti art on car windows one time with a Dremel tool on his uncle's car, sold the car, but one time in Atlanta he recognized the car due to the art still being on the window. That's so great. Michael, go find an airplane junkyard and paint the tails. Wow, that's even more interesting. So, very cool. Okay, so what I want to work on here is definitely this nose area. So first things first, let's first get the dark color and then we're going to go ahead and get the mid-tone and kind of make this turn into the light. So let's make this happen. Okay, so let's get this color here. It's a beautiful, vibrant color. And I'm going to mix that right now. And let me get my paperwork so I can use my system here. Be right back. Let's see. Okay, so I have my paperwork here. And just want to find out what color this is. Okay. Okay, that's a very deep red. So we're looking at, okay, a deep red with just a little bit of orange in there. So that's good. So we'll make that happen. A helicopter. Wow, you guys are really, how you get that in the car though, that's the question. Alright, so we're getting a red with a little tiny bit of red orange in there. So I have my cadmium red, medium. And then we're going to add some of the cadmium orange. Alright, now we have that mixture, nice, rich, beautiful red. It's just so beautiful. Let me show you. Look at this beautiful red we're working with here. That's the base color of the nose here. JC says, okay, guys, have to go to sleep. Put the kids to bed. Catch you later. Thank you, my friend. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for hanging out. And hope to talk to you soon, Mr. JC. Happy Labor Day coming up. All right, so I have this, and now let's continue working on this here. Ooh, this is definitely a vibrant color. You ain't kidding. And all right, so now we have that. Go back and get, all right, so very interesting. So I think I have what I need to do. Okay. So definitely this is a very highly saturated color. It really is deceiving, you know? But when you have a system like mine, because your eyes are going to lie to you, but my system will keep that from happening. Ah, so good to see you, man. All right, so now let's get a fresh brush. And again, I like using the bright, so I'm able to get some really nice brights lately. Let's see how this looks here. All right, now let's get to painting, guys. Let's get to stepping. Now we probably have to go a little bit darker here. Let's see how this goes here. Definitely need to go a little bit darker. All right, let's pull this down. Let's change our... Okay, there we go. All right, let's take a look here. Definitely need more saturation. So when it feels too gray, it usually is. That means you have to pump up the volume on that a little bit. See that? It's very important to do that. But I think we can move into that less saturated color as we go towards the turning of the form. But it is a beautiful red. And even though, you know, we see it in our minds as orange, we have to make sure that we chill out and trust the system. So what I want to mix is I want to mix the light and dark on both sides of this color here. Okay, so now we're going to take another brush and we're going to go with the lighter color here. kind of establish the edge here. And make sure that we get the saturation we're looking for. That tea bucket painting that he did for the one guy, he messed the painting up, and you might have to do it again. Oh my God, that's horrible. And Patty says, night everyone. Take care, Patty. Thanks for hanging out. Always a pleasure. I appreciate you. So right now we're just making this turn. Remember, a cup of tea does not grow cold right away. It takes time. And even though this is turning rather drastically, it still takes time turning. So we want to make sure that we stay true to that. Even lighter. Okay, now we're going to come in with the light color. And yeah, we're using a lot of brushes today. And let's mix that light color together. So he loved the painting, but he is upset with himself. How did he destroy the painting? Let's see. So I'm going to mix this light color here. See how we're softening up that nose there? Okay, some beautiful light here. Let's see what's making up this color. Ooh, this color has definitely made a change. Made a switch here. Let's look at that. How can we figure out what color that is? Okay, so that is a nice pure orange. Don't trust your eyes. That's why my system is so important. You can't trust your eyes to identify the color mixing. So you might know the color mixing, but your eyes will tell you the wrong color to mix. Oh, Astral says, what brand of tea are you drinking, Tim? I do like Barry's, which is really good. Sometimes Lipton. I know people don't like it, but I'm kind of like comfortable with it, you know, sir? Okay, so now I have the color, and let's see. So let's mix that color. Okay. Brilliant. And let's get the final component. And then we're ready to go. A little bit lighter, definitely. Yorkshire tea is the best in the world. I gotta try that one day. Is that available here in the States, sir? Oh, this is a rich color here. It feels too dark, but the system is telling me that's the color. Oh, that sounds great. I know the English and the Irish make the best tea. Brand new brush I'm going to christen. Now this is paint I mixed literally last week, so how cool is that, everybody? Okay. Right here. We're going to put that next to it and we're going to mix it. So we need a little mid-tone as well. Oh. And repress the urge to want to move around. Stay in that one area when you can. Try and resolve that. And then I'm going to get a little kind of blending brush, like right here. Actually, get one that I don't love so much. Okay, let's see. So we're just going to kind of blend this a little bit, cleaning it. See how, but I'm softening that nose, right? It's very, very important. Come back in here. Okay, so we have a nice darker color here, but I'm going to kind of pull this light in there and then kind of work wet into wet on this nose. Come over here. Kind of bring this, kind of wet this, and you know, it's sort of, you have to stay in that area and wet all the adjacent areas so you can work wet into wet. Gary says, is there a preferred canvas that high-end art was painted on, or not really? No, I mean, galleries are really keen on canvas, but that's just like, you know, really nothing to it. This is working on paper. I work on board. I work on aluminum. So it really isn't. It's just, you know, probably stereotypical, like it should be on canvas, but it really is not important. But you know how the art world is, you know, they're set on something. Let me go ahead and darken this area here. Come back here. Okay, so I have this darker color. I'm going to bring that in towards the nose there. Oh, that's a nice dark color, almost like a coffee color. And let's look at that. It is at ooh, that's a nice, that's an orange with a little bit of red. Let's see. No, actually, that's a red orange with a little more red into it. Definitely. So let's see how that goes. Yeah, a little more orange than our last color we mixed. Okay. Interesting parameters. Let's go ahead and mix that color. Red, orange. But there's more orange in this than before. Yeah, that orange makes a big difference in the color. Okay, we'll put a little bit of a lighter version right next to it. And add a little bit of touch of orange in there. When things look more brown, usually it's orange is the catalyst. Alright, let's see what we have. Because things look different on the paper than they do on the palette. Let's take a look. This may be really highly saturated. Okay, we have our color here. Astral says, Gary, you should have heard Steve Leahy's soapbox on equipment earlier. He says, let's say he's made a stance on using the best you can buy if you want to sell. Well, he makes a good point, definitely. But canvas is not necessarily the best, not even close. Well, one of the things that I don't do is I never will placate to my audience in the sense that, an artist always has to stick to his guns. If, like Mr. Leahy likes working on, his Yubo paper, and he's going to stick to his guns, which is great, and I think the bottom line is, whatever feels really comfortable for you, and let the collectors follow. Don't try not to ever submit to some weird preference like it has to be canvas because they heard some gallery guy say that. You know what I mean? So it's always important to as artists to make the collectors go your way, not the other way around. And, I like the way Mr. Leahy sticks to his guns. He was painting razor blades when nobody was, Well, yeah. I mean, if you're a classically trained artist like myself, like Mr. Leahy, that's something you're taught, right? So that just goes, as far as your background is concerned. The more extensive background, your teachers are going to touch on that, like, what is it that you work on? What kind of paints do you use? That kind of thing. But as far as like preferences, it's always important to go your way as to what you like working. And I think any artist that's worth their salt is going to paint for him or herself first. And we want the paintings to last, right? Who cares about the collector? I mean, no, the artist has to care about himself first, because that's who he's doing it for. If nobody ever bought a painting of mine, I'd still be here every Wednesday night. So it doesn't matter. I don't care what the buyers like. I'm going to paint what I want to paint. And hopefully, my vision, and if it's beautiful and someone else sees that vision, and there's this harmonious kind of moment where my collector and me kind of come together, and that's great, But I'm always going to stick to what I want to do first, because I'm the one who went to art school. I'm the one who, when other people were hanging out in high school, I was taking extra art classes. So, I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to paint what I want to paint. But the natural outcropping of having a good education in art is that you're not going to work on stuff that is like not going to last, because every artist wants their work to be around for a long time. newsprint, so why does newsprint even stick around? So newsprint really isn't around to do any kind of serious artwork on it. It's basically for life drawing, doing quick sketches in life drawing. That's what, the advent of why that was even invented. Yeah, I mean, you'll see a lot of artists in the abstract expressionist world, because they didn't have an extensive art education, and so they were painting with house paint or glue or stuff like that. And so, it was really not very good for the longevity of the artwork. So, like, even myself, I studied, with these artists, and the supplies that I used are basically archival, and a lot of times I wasn't even told that they were archival, but just having that education of, working with acrylic gesso and working on masonite panels and, stuff like that. It was a while before I adopted the order-worn sealer until I was actually 100% sure that it was going to be archival, because, like you said, I'm painting for me, and if someone buys it, that's fantastic. But it's really about me, and then that kind of thing. I think Michael is turning into an art historian. Yeah, that's so cool, Astral. Yes, that's my hobby, is art history. One of my many hobbies. But a lot of times, like the abstract expressionists rebelled against a lot of the traditional teaching and even what they painted on, and a lot of their stuff is deteriorating today. Oh, that's great. So Astral got an A. That's very cool. And you see how I'm softening this up, and now we're going to have to kind of just kind of chill and make sure that we give this thing time to cook, right? Okay. Let's get some other paintbrushes here. We're going to come in with, so the thing is, you don't want to ever paint on the fly, so really, slow things down. You find yourself getting excited and start working quickly. You want to stop that and just kind of, okay, so now I have this. I want to mix this gradation here. So we'll come in here. And you're tempted to go ahead and use a dark here and put it there. Don't do that. You have to mix the colors. There's no easy way out. Alright, so let's take a look at this next color here. Alright, let's see this here. Alright, so we're going to get our transition color, and we're going to see what is the main thrust of this. Red orange it is. Okay. Alright, let's get all the elements of this. Alright, so let's make this happen. And this is more of a red-orange. Just make sure you have the right amount of saturation. Let's see. And it always looks different on your painting. So let's see what it looks like. There we go. So we're working on that transition, right? Yes, paint every painting like this is the one that's going to change your life. Okay, sir? Your masterpiece is always the one you're working on. I was told by a very wise teacher to me. Wow, Stevie Nicks is great with that blonde hair. That's going to be great. I would love that, to see that. It's hard to find a good picture of her, though, for some reason. I mean, she's very beautiful, but she had terrible photographers. And you can see if, the color gets a little unsaturated, we got to bring that back. And that's energy, right? So you're bringing more energy back into your painting. Go back to our light color. And then there's a little bit of a darker. And you may have to go even further down that value scale. Then we're going to go ahead and start blending some of this in there here. And just sort of working this area here. And then come back in with that bright white color. It isn't white at all, but it is bright. It's actually quite dark, this color here. Hey there, Mr. Dave, all the way from Texas. How are you, sir? Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're here, sir. How's everything going? And Astral says, Tim, he has a comedy airbrush he wants to send, but he decided it's not finished yet. Can I send it to you next Wednesday? Of course. I'd love to see it. Always love your work. And just bringing that light color in. And then we're going to work this darker color in even further. Let's see. Move these brushes aside here. Okay, right in here starts getting a little darker. Now we definitely have to add more saturation here, more energy. The old words, the old vernacular, they're dead. So with my new system, I'm not going to bore you right now until the book's out, but everything is on its ear. And all I have to say is, you know, thank you so much to every artist who brought me to Photonic Realism, but we can take it from here. But with all humility, you know, I think without, you know, the great masters, it wouldn't have a possibility. Then we'll come in and kind of bring these colors together here. Now the main thing is to make this turn a little slower, right? Just a little darker, make this turn. It has to turn, right? It has to dissipate from the front edge to the side edge, but it's not like a corner of a building, so we have to soften that up. Oh, that's great. Your work is fantastic. Oh, Mr. Michael says his sleep schedule. That's going to be a big adjustment, sir. That's normal. My sleep schedule was really bad, but now it's because, you know, I also have a regular job. So now we have a nice turning of the form. Let me add a little bit of a dark red here. So I have some cadmium red deep, which is really beautiful. And I'm going to add that with some maroon perylene, which is a nice transparent maroon. Astral says, tell him about it. So yeah, you know, when you're retired, I'm not retired, but, you know, as I was a full-time artist, my sleep schedule was really crazy. I'm still a full-time artist, but I have structure now, so it's a little bit different. Alright, now let's come in with that nice mid-tone orange here. And don't worry about using brushes, that's what they're there for. Right here, there's this beautiful kind of mid-tone orange. We're going to bring that over. So you can see how we're really softening up her nose. And also we're establishing that wet into wet here. But it was so important to really start bringing in, we're going to bring in some of the orange as well. And Michael says if he had his own garage and studio to where he could do cars, he would be really busy. Wow. You see a hair, it's your job to get rid of it. And I see it right there. Okay, I think I got it. And see how it's nice and light orange here. This kind of disappears into the cheek, going into the maxilla here. So I'm going to bring this down, and then I'm going to come in with a nice dark. So now I have all the wet paint, so I can do wet into wet right now. And from when he went to the car show last weekend, he had a lot of guys come up to him and ask about things. That's amazing. Gary says, well, folks, gotta run. Be safe. Mr. Gary, take care, my friend. I hope you have a great Labor Day weekend coming up. Always a profound pleasure, sir. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you soon. And take care, sir. My cat's meowing. Let's see. Kind of bring in this kind of reddish color here. And if something's not right, you can always just take your rag and kind of wipe that. And let's go back to our light color and kind of move that back in. Kind of play with that back and forth. And then we have this really nice highlight here. But it's definitely not white, so you want to make sure that you're not creating white highlights where it definitely is not white. That, just lighten that up. Ah, that's too dark. Okay, so now we can come back in with the dark around her eye. Let's do that. And I'm going to mix that color, or at least make sure that I have the right color. Beautiful color. But interesting enough, if I look at that color again, it's red orange, like totally like cadmium orange light and black. Okay, so now we have this color, and now we can introduce it. And like I said, when you're painting, you're basically going to be painting the picture several times. And this right here, although we want to see sharp detail, it really isn't. There really isn't sharp detail when it's kind of in that dark mid-tone area here, like in her eye. And Astral says when he was young, he trained his cat to rattle a doorknob when it wanted to come in. But 3 a.m. in the morning, my father did not appreciate it. I could imagine. How's your son doing in Japan, sir? So I did soften her up a little bit here. And kind of bringing this dark into the eyebrow here. She has this very intense look, which drew me to this painting, this pose. And a lot of this dark value, which is this, almost black with red orange in it, all melts together. Oh, your son is very busy with work and a newborn lady. Sleepless nights for him. Yeah, definitely. So congratulations on your growing family. Alright, so now I'm going to be needing a lighter red right in here. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so it's going to be more red, and we'll go ahead and mix that. More of this red-orange color, cadmium red medium. Yeah, that was a great picture. It looked like a professional photo, my friend. Really nice. So I have this lighter red here. I'm going to add some orange to it because it is quite saturated. But you got to be careful because orange will turn things brown. We don't necessarily want that at this stage of the game. You can always up the saturation, or in photonic terms, raise the energy level. Not intensity. Intensity and energy are different things. I might have went too far. And so here's this zygomatic bone coming down here like this. Kind of bring this down. Okay, so we're starting to work on the zygomatic bone going into the maxilla, which is really helpful here. Yeah, there's some really good ones. But there's a great program for Windows that I use, which is really great, and I use for my group classes. It's a Windows. It's part of the Windows store. 3D Anatomy, Bones and Muscles, I think. It's free. Let me see if I can get that for you. Okay, we're going to go back to that light color. Kind of work this together here. And that mid-tone, let me find that mid-tone brush. Whoop, 2. Yeah, it's not really, it is cool though. It does go around 3D. Let me see if I can get the name for it, sir. It's called 3D Bones and Organs. And it's free. There's a free and paid version. It's very inexpensive. And those who take my classes know that program is really good. Let's go ahead and get my blender brush here. Come back in with that lighter color. Okay, we just kind of blend this in, soften those edges, and it's a work in progress. You know, you're going back and forth, you're blending, getting the major shapes. Especially here, things are kind of rough. Let's blend this in, kind of soften this area here. So here's the zygomatic bone going into the temporal here. Now we need a mid-tone here, right in here. So let's see if we can find that. I think this is a good one right here. It's not too light. It's a little light. Add a little solvent-free gel here, kind of soften things up. Oh, perfect. It really is. It's free, and I use it for my anatomy classes. And last week we did the foot, 26 bones in the foot. And we started working on some of the muscles. Basically the tendons and also the shape of the foot. The dome of the foot, which was really interesting. There's an anatomical form on the foot that's like a dome. I didn't know that. So when I teach anatomy, I learn myself, that's for sure. Go back to that light. I have to work on this shape here of her nose. It goes in quite drastically. That's the alar cartilage. Okay, so come back in with that kind of reddish color we've been having fun with. And now we have this beautiful dark coming from below here and casting a shadow on the bottom part of the maxilla. So we have to come with that. And let's see if we're going to mix that, because that's a really important color here. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's almost a red with just a tiny little bit of orange in there. Alright, let me go ahead and mix this clean here. So we're looking at a red with a little bit of red orange in there. So if you want to shift the color, you don't hopscotch colors, you just use the adjacent color, where in this case red and red orange. Okay. Alright, let's get a fresh brush. Brand new brush, christened. This may appear too dark. I'm sure it's going to. Actually, it's working out, so that's good. And Mr. Astral says he's been working on an Aphrodite version of Apollo Keystone. He sent me. Perfect. It's using Marilyn Monroe's features, but the pose is from a good-looking ground looking up at some in stone, and it's hard. Wow, that's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that, sir. So if we know what we're painting, like right here, we know we're painting the bottom of the maxilla. And now we need that lighter color that's in between the two. Let's see if we can pull it off. You don't want to go too light, right? Come back in with that darker color. Okay. And we have to infuse some energy into this. It is very challenging, definitely, Astral. He says he's thinking maybe finish in about 4 weeks. Oh, I can't wait to see that. Okay, I'm going to bring this dark down here and really start shaping the anatomy of her. And then soften this area. And every painting you do is an evolution throughout the life of the painting, you know. Bring this dark down. And this is like when you're working wet into wet, it really feels like sculpting. Sculpting the forms. And one form reveals what you have to do with the next form. It kind of, you know, brings it down. That shading is keying in the continuation down the neck. It's coming out great. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Astral. And now we got to come in with this light color and kind of bring that down. And we're just, you know, that's the whole thing, is like sculpting the forms, right? And, you know, I thought, you know, okay, I have it, but once we do something, it's like a domino effect, right? The butterfly effect. One area, although it's so small, will ripple out and affect the whole painting. Go back in with this light area. And really feel like, you know, what part of her zygomatic bone here, or cheekbone, is touching the light most directly, facing the light most directly. And of course that's going to get the most light. And then right here we can definitely put in the light and wait for the other forms, the other colors to kind of come in later. But since you're working in oils, this will stay wet when I kind of catch up with the other areas. So there's a lot of, you know, going back and forth and, you know, changing the temperature a little bit here and there, but a lot of it has to do with the anatomical forms, making sure I get that correctly, and also what is more oriented towards the light, to make sure that I key that in. And later tonight I'm going to continue working on this. And now we got to come in with this beautiful color right here. We have 3 minutes, but I'm going to mix this beautiful color right here, right at her orbicularis oris. Alright, let's see how we're going to mix this. It's a lot darker than what I think it is. And let's see, as far as the color, looking at my system here. Wow, almost pure red orange. Okay, and the mixture. Okay, interesting mix here. Okay, let's make this happen. Our cadmium red light. Keep looking at our so I am going to make it just a little more orange, just because I like that kind of brownish shift. Alright, it's going to look a little dark, so I may have to lighten it up, but let's take a look. And, alright, let's see here. Actually, this actually worked out perfectly. Doesn't always happen that way, but when it does, I say thank you. Kind of bring in this tone here. And then we can work on this area, kind of comes down. And you can see a lot of times that, you know, I may make it too light and miss it. But doing a second, third pass, you really are forced to refine our eye. And we have a nice wet into wet here happening, which is really good. Well, my friends, we are at the 3:30 mark, or the 11:30 mark. Thank you so much for hanging. I'm going to continue this, and I'll post it later on Facebook if anyone wants to see it. Thank you for hanging out. I really appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for the super chats. It means a lot to me. Mr. Giovanni, and I know we had another super chat besides Mr. Giovanni. Nope, that was it. Mr. Giovanni, thank you so much for the super chat, sir. Thank you, everyone. It was great talking to you. I hope you have a great Labor Day weekend here in the States. Stay safe, eat good, and I will talk to you later. Oh, you're always welcome, Mr. Michael. Take care. You all are great. Bye, everybody.